In 2020, you were named as one of People magazine's sexiest men alive.
I need to stop calling Pedro Pascal daddy. It's becoming a problem. Yes.
Did you ask to make your pants this tight?
I did, actually.
Would love if you could read a few thirst tweets.
No. Dirty.
Of the whole vibe of the daddy
Are you
thing.
new to it? It's been going on for years.
That's what I mean.
Is it a lot of pressure being a heartthrob?
No.
Do you ever look at Instagram accounts devoted to you being a heartthrob when you're feeling down?
Yes, I do.
He's daddy, I'm mommy, and we're all a happy family.
Who's a bigger daddy? You or this man, Oscar Isaac?
I'm a bigger daddy than him. I'm older than him. Although he's a real daddy, he's got kids and I don't. And think he's my cool, slutty father. Yep. But daddy is a state of mind, you know what I'm saying? I'm your daddy.
You know, after giving Velma on HBO Max its fair shake, I genuinely think it made me rather reluctant to return to their streaming services again so soon. But with a video game TV show adaptation like The Last of Us being featured there, I couldn't help but find out if such an adaptation could be implemented well enough to not only stay truthful to the source material, but also actually be worth watching in the first place. Now at this point, I'm sure you're all familiar with the overall theme and plot of the story, but for those of you out there that aren't sure what The Last of Us is about, allow me to enlighten you so we can get on to the good and bad of Season 1. The premise for this show is simple.
We're in the same trough, you and I.
You don't have a ship?
No, I don't. But you will find a way to get home. I can offer protection.
Why should I trust you? You're a killer.
I am indeed. But are you? Well, you're gonna have to trust me.
No, we're not talking about Ezra from Prospect. We're talking about the only real father figure Pedro Pascal plays that anyone actually cares about. No, not yet. Not that one. I mean the one where he protects the kid from barren landscapes and starving to death 90% of the show.
Alright, that's enough for today.
What am I even eating?
That is 20-year-old Chef Boyardee ravioli.
So can we start a fire? I'm freezing.
Now, why am I gonna tell you no?
Because infected will see the smoke.
No, fungus isn't that smart. This is too remote for infected anyway.
Ugh.
People?
Just show us some zombies.
Your thumb. Over your thumb. Left hand. Squeezes down on the right. Got it? There you go.
Damn, this homicidal daddy theme isn't going away anytime soon, is it? Anyways, for time's sake, Prospect and all its Pedro Pascal daddy role glory simply won't be included here due to Baby Yoda stealing the spotlight for what's going on 3 seasons for The Mandalorian now. So basically, to sum up The Last of Us, this show is mostly about little girl F-bombs, and I mean a lot of them. A lot of little girl F-bombs, and very rarely some mushroom-themed zombies here and there. Honestly, if they've replaced every F-bomb with a zombie, this show would have been far better off. But yeah, the particular mushroom in question causing all this is the cordyceps fungus, infamously known for taking control over the bodies of ants and other insects as a means to spread itself to new territories. The Last of Us video games may have already told this story in a format that arguably can't be beaten, but will this first season tell the same story in a way that can compete with the likes of Baby Yoda and his personal escort? Well, judging from season 3 so far, probably. Yeah, probably. You see, just like the Last of Us games themselves and even the latest season of The Mandalorian, Pedro Pascal once again has simply landed a role that asks far less of him than his role in Game of Thrones ever did. In Game of Thrones, the character Pedro delivered us as Oberyn Martell was far more intriguing, likable, enthusiastic, quick and agile, and someone whose screen presence took center stage over his sexual preferences in what I can only describe as the most seamless of ways. Having such a rich character like this made his little amount of screen time one of the best additions to the show, providing zero reason to look down at your phone while letting the show simply play in the background, looking at you, Mandalorian, and making his character's sudden demise all the more heartbreaking for all those in the audience who appreciated what his character brought to the table that was Game of Thrones.
You played Oberyn Martell in Game of Thrones. Did you ever find that show to be a bit of an eyesore?
Do I have to answer that? I found it to be a double eyesore.
But unfortunately, his latest roles in The Mandalorian and The Last of Us have given him a script that makes piss-poor use of his acting range by giving us the same monotone, walking NPC level of dialogue, with two characters who only serve to escort a certain chosen child and occasionally shoot things. The setting for both of these series honestly feels like a video game formatted show, consisting of constant side quests, with simple loot or vanquished enemies or threats as the reward. Another episode, another side quest. I mean, sure, The Last of Us may very well be based on the 2013 video game developed by Naughty Dog, but I don't think The Mandalorian has any such excuse to fall back on. Regardless, on top of 2018's Prospect, of course, Pedro Pascal landing two different homicidal protective father figure TV show roles back to back is certainly something that can't be left unaddressed considering the formulaic writing they both seem to possess, where delivering a child to a certain place while leaving nothing but a trail of corpses along the way is the #1 priority. Now, I know what you're thinking. Who exactly delivers their child destined for great things the best? Mando or Joel? Again, sorry Ezra, not you. Well, thanks to Bo-Katan officially taking over the show at this point, unfortunately for Season 3 of The Mandalorian, the comparison won't exactly be fair, at least until a certain golf club is inevitably introduced to the back of Joel's head at some point. Whoops. If you weren't aware of Joel's untimely demise to a strong female character down the line, then clearly you haven't been watching The Mandalorian. I mean, played The Last of Us Part 2. Poor Pedro. It just isn't in the cards for him to remain the focal point, with such strong ladies throwing their hat in the ring at the exact same time. So what does this leave us with? One strong female lead-focused show with another one, soon to strip Pedro of his competence, manhood, and overall utility yet again. These two shows are so alike, yet so different, aren't they? Where The Mandalorian provides a safe, predictable, mildly visually stimulating show, featuring one of the most marketable creatures to ever hit toy store shelves, The Last of Us gives us an arguably equally slow-paced show, that unlike The Mandalorian, actually fails to deliver enough screen time with the creatures that are supposed to be a constantly overwhelming threat. Why does it do this? Don't know. But if two completely unnecessary full episodes dedicated to exclusively box-checking romance weren't so important to the directors, then maybe we'd have more time with the creatures the show so heavily relied on in its marketing. Now, don't get me wrong, as touching of a love story episode 3 may have actually been, the screen time dedicated to this simply didn't match the amount of emphasis it had on the story. Like, at all. Considering all it did was simply highlight who Joel managed to inherit a place to stay from, and nothing more to do with Joel or Ellie, even in the slightest after that. Episode 7 showed us Ellie's first exposure to the infected and how she got bit in the first place, but using an entire episode to let her and her female love interest get infected while exploring a shopping mall so late in the season couldn't have been a bigger waste of very important time. Pulling us all in the audience out of the main story for so long this late in the show shouldn't have even happened. Her becoming infected story could have been told far better in only 10 minutes or less, since all they did was explore an abandoned shopping mall for an entire hour's worth of screen time. Yeah, this episode is exactly as slow-paced as it sounds, arguably sleep-inducing rather than telling us anything meaningful to care about as far as Ellie's female love interest goes. But, whatever, with episode 3 and 7 being dedicated to exclusively gay romance, that means nearly 20% of the entire show is dedicated to zombieless, box-checking fillers, with Ellie and her supposed lover only getting infected at the very last minute of episode 7. Keep in mind, one of the biggest reasons this is an issue is because the show itself already struggles greatly to fill enough zombie screen time to please anyone actually wishing to see or learn more about them. With drama and simple raiders taking more of a priority than the zombies themselves, for what this show lacks in zombies, it at least makes up for in trying to be accurate to the games. The highlight of the show being the original voice actors for Joel and Ellie making their on-screen debuts. But, just like The Mandalorian, with few exceptions, each episode is simply a slow burn. Although the cordyceps zombie concept alone is incredibly cool to see put to screen, sometimes it's so slow-paced you kind of just have to force yourself to keep watching it for the sake of finding out where the story is going to go next, instead of it actually holding your interest consistently all on its own merit. One of the key things this show fails to get right about Joel and Ellie's relationship compared to the games is just how reliant Ellie is actually supposed to be on Joel to survive. Throughout the show, Ellie is told more than once just how great of a natural leader she'd be, for absolutely no reason. She goes off on her own against Joel's wishes and seemingly always handles herself around infected with zero repercussions, since she's immune of course. But honestly, with her having this get out of jail free card, it really takes away from the fact that she'd be long dead like everyone else due to her inability to follow Joel's instructions that have helped him survive on his own for as long as he has. Her being so ignorantly headstrong when she has no right to be, especially considering she should have already paid the price for it by being bitten once already, isn't something that should be praised as the characteristics of a good leader. It should be called out for the selfish recklessness that it is. This version of Ellie is literally a danger to her and everyone else around her. With that being said, the show itself is certainly watchable, but I'd say it has way too much room for improvement in Season 2 than I'd like it to have, especially with Pedro's other main show mirroring this exact behavior so far into its development. But I will stay optimistic for Season 2 of The Last of Us. I'll try. Now, about Mando. Let's face it, with a show like The Mandalorian being on its third season of filler episodes of side quest after side quest, and the only Mandalorian that matters being replaced by a diverse character in the same way that Boba Fett took a backseat to his own sidekick, well, needless to say, if The Mandalorian is the least heartfelt or meaningful addition to the Star Wars franchise, that's only slightly more watchable than any film Rey and Kylo Ren starred in to collectively shit on everything that made Star Wars great in the first place.
Could I perhaps hold the baby, please?
He doesn't take kindly to strangers.
You are so fast. Yes. You see, it was time for our...
Oh, fuck me. On second thought, Rey fucking Palpatine doesn't look so bad right about now. Oh no, I didn't actually mean it. Fuck. But yeah, when it comes to The Last of Us Season 1, it does seem like this was a genuine effort to appease the fans of the original two games, at least to some degree. However, when the show itself is so slow-paced and bogged down by distracting box-checking fillers, when it simply doesn't have that luxury, its own writers are truly its biggest weakness for dedicating so much time to parts of the story that in the grand scheme of things mean so little. All in all, making the soon-to-be done away with Joel currently the better father figure over Mando, I will say. Especially at the very end of the season where it becomes a video game all on its own again. And yeah, thanks to Lady Mormont, their father-daughter themed relationship development going into the last episodes wasn't nearly as smooth as it could have been, and overall certainly felt rushed. But what can I say, Mando? The dialogueless toy that moves things for you is arguably indistinguishable from the first season in terms of how he knows and acts around you. Yes, Mando, your show is slow-paced. Your relationship with Grogu has changed and developed arguably zero for 3 seasons, making the mystery of who's your daddy not the hardest of choices here if you ask me, especially when it looks like you are already on your way out. Anyways, I hope you guys like this review, so feel free to comment down below and let me know who you think should have won Top Daddy. Or better yet, let me know what movie or TV show you'd like me to review next. Whether it's good, or whether it's more smooth brain, visually pleasing, soulless Disney sludge that's about as memorable as picking up reliably mediocre fast food from down the street, remember, I'll fucking judge.
Oh.